Hey everybody, this is Lori Franson, and I'm just doing a report on Jean-Jacques Rousseau. He was a Swiss-born French philosopher, composer, and author that was born in, June 28th, 1712 in Geneva, Switzerland. His mother was Suzanne Bernard, and she passed away just 9 days after he was born due to side effects from having him. He was incredibly smart. He could read full French novels by the time he was 3 years old, obviously with the help of his father, but still really incredible. He soon after garnered a huge interest in music by way of his aunt. She taught him, and he started to love music, and this was a huge part of his life. At age 10, his father got in trouble for brandishing a sword, and so he fled the country and abandoned Rousseau, and he ended up having to be dependent upon his mother's family, which didn't do much for him. He grew up really, really poor. His formal education ended at the age of 13, and he tried to become a watchmaker, and he was an apprentice for a while. But this didn't work out for him. He hated it, didn't enjoy it at all, and you'll find that throughout all of his life, really, he hated medial work. He just didn't want to have one of those careers. He wanted to be a thinker and a doer and a person that came up with ideas and things, and so he, at the age of 16, took off. He fled like his father, but not because of legal reasons. But he fled Geneva and went to France. And here he met Louise Eleanor, who is the Baron de Warens. And she took him under her wing. She was incredibly smart. She was an entrepreneur. She was incredibly witty. And she really revolutionized Rousseau. She was responsible for a huge part of his education. She taught him things about music, about how to be a gentleman. She basically refined him and helped him become the philosopher that he is today, or he is known as today. He was throughout his career, he worked a lot on music, wrote a lot of plays, copied a lot of music, and this was really the love of his life, and he pursued this for a very, very long time throughout his life, throughout really the whole of his life. He loved music and pursued it. He also wrote a lot on political philosophy. He wrote a lot on just a lot of different books, which I'll get into in a minute. And he also was really well known for being being involved in botany, which was a little unusual. I didn't know that. But he was a great guy, intelligent guy. He married Therese Levasseur, who was his maid, and eventually had 5 children with her. But he was really poor throughout his life, and so he couldn't take care of any of them, and they all ended up in the poorhouse. So, sad. Eventually, he died July 2nd, 1778, in France. After really running from various countries, he got in a lot of trouble and became kind of paranoid, and ran and fled from France, ended up in England for a little while, and then eventually ended back in France, where he passed away from a kidney disease. So that was kind of nasty. Now, moving on to his philosophy. He wrote a book called Emile, and this was really the greatest work that he published. It was the center of his educational philosophy, so it has the greatest application to us as teachers. The key belief was all men are born good, but are corrupted by society. And this came to him one day as he was walking the streets of Paris, going to visit a friend who happened to be in jail. And he just had this realization that everyone is good, but society makes us bad. And it hit him pretty hard, and he really, really pondered upon this, and it became his philosophy. And so he wrote Emile on this philosophy, on his idea that everyone is good, but a society that corrupts us. And Emile is about a man and his education and as he grows throughout his life, and it follows him going from stage to stage as he gets older and older. And the first 2 books of Emile are really focused on what we would focus on as educational or elementary educational majors. They are about Emile from birth to about age 12. And this part of Emile, or these first 2 books in Emile, focus on 3 ideas. The first is children should be educated based on feeling, sensation, and matters of the heart. The second was people are basically good and good-natured, and children are innocent, which is a key thing I'll talk about in a minute. And the last was that children are not just imperfect adults. And so Emile really became popular, became well-known, and was hugely influential throughout France and really just throughout the rest of the world. it was really his big contribution is to change the way that we look at children, the way that they looked at children. So historically, the way that children and people were viewed was that they were bad. They were born evil. It was a Roman Catholic belief called original sin, where the belief was that everyone is born evil and that we all inherently want to do evil. And Rousseau just didn't believe this. He believed children were good. He believed that children should be educated in a good manner, that they should be able to pursue what they want to pursue. Was very progressivist. And he wanted adults to look at them that way, and to not look at them as just little devils, but to look at them as good, innocent people, innocent beings, and that the childhood is a separate time of our lives where the rules don't quite make sense to the rest of our lives. And this is very understandable. This is very similar to the way that we as Mormons, as LDS people, believe. We believe that all children are innocent, and Rousseau was the same way. And that was really what stuck out the most to me about his philosophy, is that he believed really similar to the way that we believe, that children are good and should be educated that way, and that they should be able to trust the adults that they're around. They should be able to pursue what they want to pursue and what's useful for their lives, which is really the same way that we are brought up now. So he really influenced the way that education was from the time that he was all the way up into our modern days. In closing, his last major contributions was that he obviously got rid of the belief of original sin. He was a major figure in the French Enlightenment and really was a well-known philosopher and really affected many other areas of society. He spent a ton of time composing music and is really most well known for that. In fact, that's the way that I had heard of him first, was through music, because I've played some of his pieces before. And lastly, his political ideas actually largely influenced the French Revolution. So he had a lot of impacts and did a lot of great things. And he just really influenced my life, influenced the way that helped me to realize how I look at children, because I've always looked at children as being innocent and good. And I just didn't realize that this belief really came from him, started with him, and really took off because of his ideas and the work that he did. And I appreciate that he was able to do that and help us to really change the way we educated people and change the way we looked at the world. And I know that Rousseau was a good man, and that he really cared about kids, and it really stuck out as I did this paper on him. So this is Jacques Rousseau. Hope you guys learned something new, and thanks.